It's a little chilly out this morning. Had to make a little coffee to start the morning off right, warm up a little bit. Hey, welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, I'm down here in southern Utah doing a little truck camping. I'm just outside of Zion National Park. And in fact, from my campsite here, I can see most of the mountains that are on that edge of the park. So pretty beautiful area, pretty beautiful weather for January, honestly. It's like 45 out, but it's supposed to get to 60 later. So that'll be nice, but for the morning, it's a little brisk. The point of today's video isn't to do a truck camping video. I'm actually going to be going over the setup for the diesel heater in the back of my 2023 Toyota Tacoma. A couple months ago, I made a video going over the entire camping setup that I've built for the back of my truck. And a lot of the questions in the comments were revolving around the diesel heater setup, how I have it set up, what brand I like to use, as well as how do I like it, reliability, all that stuff. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the entire setup that I built for this truck. I'm gonna finish my cup of coffee and kind of enjoy the morning in the desert, sights and sounds that are going on around me here, and we'll get into this video, so stay tuned. When you buy a diesel heater, it's gonna come to you in a box like this, Vevor, and in the box, what it comes with, we'll go through that real quick, like an unboxing. You get a big fuel tank. If you were mounting it in a camper or something like that, this would be ideal. In my case, not so ideal because it's really hard to find a spot to mount this in the back of a truck, so put that down. You get the unit itself. This here, like I said, Vevor, and it's a 2 kilowatt model. You have your intake and exhaust on the bottom. You have your wire harness that goes into the heater. Yeah, pretty compact. This one's much smaller than the 5 kilowatt version, so it fits in a lot smaller areas, such as the back of a truck. So you get the unit. You get your thermostat controller unit, comes with it. You get a remote control that comes with it. You got your actual wire harness that connects everything together. Exhaust pipe, heat duct, muffler for your exhaust pipe, the fuel pump itself, your air intake pipe, hardware kit, mounting plate, of course, the instruction manual. All that comes in the box. If you have very basic 12 volt wiring experience, it's very easy to wire this into a 12 volt system, such as a fuse block or something like that. Climbing into the back of the pickup into my sleeping platform, you'll see I have the diesel heater mounted right back here in the far corner in the back of the truck. I did that intentionally because I didn't want to give up the space down the middle here, which is where I keep all my camping gear. I wanted it out of the way and somewhere easy to access, so I chose the back corner here. It also made it easier to route the exhaust pipe and the fuel line and things like that that are required to come in from the bottom. It was just a really clean area to mount it in the back of a Toyota Tacoma. And if you know anything about Tacomas, you know that they have a fiberglass type box, and so I had to use a hole saw to cut out the hole to mount the turret plate, which is what the diesel heater itself is mounted into. It makes for a really clean installation. It's also easy to seal up to make sure no carbon monoxide sneaks in, and I would highly recommend a turret plate if you're doing a diesel heater install. It just makes things really easy and super clean. This is what I came up with to mount the fuel pump for my diesel heater in the back of my truck. If you've done any reading or research on diesel heaters, one of the most common complaints with them is how noisy the thunking or the ticking sound, the mechanical sound that these fuel pumps make. You got a couple options. You can choose to live with it, and some of them are pretty loud, or you can come up with ways to quiet it down. This was my solution to the noisy fuel pump. It's a camera storage box from Harbor Freight Tools. It's one of those waterproof type boxes. But basically, we'll pop it open here. It has a foam insert on the inside with these little squares that you can kind of knock out. So I'll pull this out. And there's the fuel pump right inside there. So what I did is I drilled a hole in the corner of the box down there, corner of the box here. I mounted the fuel pump itself there, and I ran a fuel line through some rubber grommets through that hole to the pump, and then out of the pump through another rubber grommet down to the bottom of the truck. So the whole entire fuel pump is surrounded by this foam, and while it's not perfect, I mean, I can still hear it. It's substantially quieter than if I just were to mount the pump on the wall itself. So if you have a diesel heater and you're sick of the annoying clunking ticking sound, this is a solution that I would highly recommend. It doesn't hurt my sleep. I can watch movies or TV back here, and it doesn't drown out the sound of the TV. It works really, really well. It's a good solution, and I had it in my other build as well, but I highly recommend the Harbor Freight camera box to house your fuel pump in for your diesel heater build. The next thing is I had to mount a fuel tank for the diesel heater. And unfortunately, the one that came with the Vevor diesel heater was just a little bit too tall to fit in my sleeping platform where I wanted to. So I had to come up with a different solution. And what I ended up coming up with, this is a marine battery box. I believe I bought it at Walmart. It's for a boat battery. It's a plastic box. Pull the lid off. And inside is where I mounted the diesel tank that I found fits better in my truck. This is 1.5 gallons. It holds plenty for long camping trips. It's also a much better shape to fit where I wanted it to fit. More compact. And I mounted it in this plastic battery tray here for the simple reason, this is the back of my truck here when the tailgate's up. When I get to the gas station, I can pop the back glass of the camper shell open. I can run that diesel line, that diesel nozzle right into the back of here, fill up my tank, where I don't have to move it. It's all mounted in the back of the truck, easy to fill up, but in that process, sometimes those diesel nozzles leak, and I didn't want diesel leaking in the bottom of the truck, into the carpet, into the bed rug, to where I have to smell diesel when I'm in the back of the truck, because those of you that are familiar with diesel, it stinks. And so any spills, any leaks, anything like that are all contained into this battery box where I can then wipe it up with a paper towel. The other thing it does is where the diesel line comes out here, the fuel line, it goes into the fuel filter, and then it goes out of the fuel filter, out of the box and into the box where I mounted the fuel pump. But if any of these spots were to ever leak, it's contained in this battery box. So the point of this was to make it easy to fill up at the gas station. I don't have to take a tank out or use a gas, like a gas can or anything like that to fill it up. I can fill it up right with the pump, and any spills that might occur as a result of that are all easily cleaned up by wiping out this battery box. No smells, no stains, nothing. It works really, really well, and it keeps it protected. Everything, all the fuel line, the fuel filter, all that is protected when it's mounted in here. I can put the lid on it. There, that is my diesel tank, my fuel tank. It's all protected, it's all safe, and it mounts really well, nice and clean in the battery box. The kit from Vevor came with literally everything I needed to install my diesel heater. The only problem was in my build, I chose to run the diesel heater in the back corner here the long way, which means the hot air outlet on the diesel heater is blowing that way, and I needed to run this way. So what I ended up finding was this is a plastic 90 elbow that is meant for a diesel heater, so it's the same size as the heat duct that comes with the diesel heater, as well as the outlet side of the diesel heater. So a couple hose clamps, and that 90-degree elbow allow me to direct the air that should be going that way and turn it going this way. So my hot air duct then runs through my sleeping platform here and out the front side here into my living space. And this is the vent that comes with the diesel heater from Vevor, but you can spin it and I can direct the airflow to wherever I want it. If I want to dry some boots or something, I can turn it and it's blowing hot air at my boots at the back here. If I want it blowing toward the front where I'm at, I can do that as well. Definitely check out that elbow. If you're in an installation situation where you're in a really tight space, and this makes sense, I would highly recommend it. Kind of saved my butt on this build a little bit, and was a little bit difficult to track down, so I'll make sure I put a link to the description to that elbow. This is where I mounted the controller for the diesel heater. Think of it like a thermostat in your house. A pretty non-intuitive device. This one's the 3-button version, so you have your on-off in the middle, and you have your temperature down and your temperature up, and it gives you a little display to tell you where you're at. Pretty simple device. The instructions aren't totally clear on how it works for functions like priming the fuel pump for the first time, but once you figure that out, everything's pretty easy. The other thing it comes with is this remote control right here. And a funny story, when I first got this diesel heater, I thought to myself, who would need a remote control for that? But in hindsight, I use it way more often than I use that. I have a little hook, since it's on a keychain, up by where I sleep on the sleeping platform, and I keep this hanging there within reach of when I'm laying in bed. Oftentimes, I turn it off when I go to bed at night, almost always, because I have a pretty warm sleeping bag. When I wake up in the morning, I reach down, grab the remote, hit the on button, and let it warm up before I crawl out of bed. And as well as when I go to bed at night, I can hit the off button to shut it down. And then you have your same up and your down function for your heat control. So there again, pretty simple device, but that remote is extremely handy. So now you're looking at this from the bottom of my truck. This round thing here is the diesel heater turret plate. I would highly recommend a diesel heater install to have one of these, but it's mounted with these 4 bolts to the bed of my truck. And what you're looking at here, this is the exhaust, this is the intake, and this little one is the fuel line right here, which I wrapped in like a 1/2-inch loom tubing to protect it. And if you follow it around, that goes up to the fuel pump in that camera box right through the side of the bed there. So it's fully protected with loom tubing all the way down and around to where it actually goes into the diesel heater. Since it's all exposed under here, road debris, rocks, all that kind of crap. I didn't want it to be exposed or any damage, like the fuel line to get cut or anything like that. So wrapping it in that loom tubing protects it, and then I zip tied it up to secure it all the way up to where it goes into the back of the truck. For the diesel heater exhaust, I ran it out the driver's side right underneath the bumper. If we climb further underneath here and we look, this is the exhaust pipe where it goes into that turret plate under there. It comes around. This is a little bracket that came with the kit, and I utilized a hole that was already in the truck in the trailer hitch to securely mount this exhaust pipe. So it's nice and tight to the bottom of the truck. If I were to hit anything off-roading or drag it, it's not going to hurt it any. It's not very far underneath the rear bumper, so it's not hanging way down. And what I didn't do in this build that I did in my other one is I did not install the muffler on the truck. Left the muffler off. I didn't like the look of it. I really don't want it to be noticeable that there's a diesel heater exhaust on here. So I ran it up nice and tight to the truck and just out underneath the rear bumper. So what I do when I get to a camping area and I'm going to use the diesel heater, all I do is I put the muffler, slide it in there, it's a nice tight fit, and what that does then is the exhaust then exits past the bumper of the truck. So it sticks out this way so all the fumes and stuff don't collect underneath the truck. If I were to install it up under here, all the exhaust would end up collecting up underneath the fenders and stuff, and I don't want any exhaust getting into the back of the truck where I'm sleeping. So when I get done camping for the weekend, for the day, whatever I'm doing, I just pull that out of there and you don't notice it. So if I were to stand up here, you don't even know that there's a diesel heater exhaust there, but yet it still exhausts outside the truck to keep me nice and safe when I'm sleeping in the back. That about wraps up the installation of the diesel heater in my 2023 Toyota Tacoma. But before I go, I want to say a couple final things here about diesel heaters. If you read, reviews and watch YouTube online about diesel heaters, there are a lot of mixed things out there. Good, bad, indifferent. There's a lot of information. And I wanted to give you guys an honest review of one single brand, which is the only brand I've ever used. That's Vevor. These people did not pay me anything. They did not give me anything to make this video. Okay, this diesel heater and this one I purchased with my own money 3 years ago when I installed it in my Chevy Silverado. I bought a second one because, like a lot of people, I read reviews and I had mixed thoughts on how reliable they were, and I wanted an extra one for either parts or to swap out in case I had a problem. Well, 3 years later, this one sits in this box on a shelf in my garage. It has not been touched. That's a testament to a quality product. 3 years, hundreds of hours, thousands of miles, gallons upon gallons of diesel fuel, and I've not had one single problem. This thing functions as good now as it did the day I took it out of the box. It starts like it should. It runs like it should. It shuts off like it should. It functions exactly like it should. It is an excellent product. I'm saying that with confidence. I don't do paid review videos on my channel because if somebody gives me this and goes, hey, make a review video on this, we'll give you this product, okay? That's great. I install it. It works good for a week. And I tell you how great it is. And then you go spend your hard-earned money on something like this, and a month later it takes a crap. Well, what good was that review video? I don't know how much better of a review I can give something than 3 years of trouble-free service. So I wanted to throw that in the end of the video, that I'm not being compensated for this. This is purely my own doing, this review video, just to share my experience with this product. And I am confident that if you were to spend your hard-earned money on this, that you would have the same experience that I would have. I would hope that would be the case. So anyway, take that for what it's worth, my honest feedback, my honest thoughts on this product, and do what you will with it. That being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just a normal working guy out here making videos from time to time, and it wouldn't be any fun if nobody watched or commented or subscribed or any of that stuff. So, and you guys do all of love that. I know I don't really have a following on here yet. Hopefully down the road I will. But for now, all I can say is thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And safe travels to your next camping or fishing or hunting destination.